No better way to start the new year than by pissing off half the motorcycle community by debunking one of their favorite sayings. One of the most common comments on any piece of motorcycle content is invariably the old standby, it's not the bike, it's the rider. This comment will appear whether it is a new rider struggling to tackle difficult content or when an expert rider is crushing difficult content. It doesn't seem to matter the context. Somebody will always drop this quote in the comments. The intent is always the same. A good rider can do well even with a less than ideal bike, and new riders often blame their bikes when the actual issue is their skill level. I can get behind all of that. Totally understand it. Somebody's still gonna comment, you don't understand what it means. That's fine. I understand that part of it. All of that is true on some level, but it is not the end-all be-all mantra that it is made out to be. Even Chris Birch is gonna struggle to ride a fat boy on a single-track trail. Matt Spears can ride a Panigale in the snow and a Goldwing in Moab, but I've never once heard him say he prefers either of those to his actual dirt bike. The reason we watch Matt's videos and enjoy them, the reason why they're so popular with millions of views, is precisely because the bike does matter. A good rider riding on single track is mildly entertaining. Good rider riding a Goldwing on single track is a riot because it is not something that we'd ever personally attempt precisely because the choice of bike makes it impossible for most of us to accomplish. Now you're already typing it. Let me just head you off. See, the rider does matter because you watch Matt because he can ride that bike on that stuff. Yeah, that's true, but that ignores the other side of the equation, and that is the part that I take exception to. It is the rider. Obviously, it is the rider. A new rider can't do things that an experienced rider can do. That's duh. But it's also the bike. And for most of us mere mortals, bike choice matters a hell of a lot more than it's not the bike, it's the rider would have you believe. I can technically drive a nail with the butt of a screwdriver, but I'd rather use a hammer. Having the right tool matters. Michael Jordan can probably dunk while wearing Crocs, but I'm guessing he'd rather be wearing a pair of Jordans. Having the right gear matters. Gordon Ramsay is a hell of a chef, but I'm guessing that if you hand him a box of tomatoes and ask for an omelet, he's gonna struggle. Having the right ingredients matters. You and I are not Gordon Ramsay, we are not Michael Jordan. We absolutely need the benefits of a well-chosen motorcycle. The bike does matter, and I'd argue that it matters more the less skilled of a rider you are. That gap starts to close as you gain skill and start to transfer it to bigger and more powerful bikes. But early on, bike choice can absolutely make or break your future as a rider. A very common piece of advice you'll see in the ADV community is to avoid buying a new bike and instead find a low mileage used bike with all of the add-ons already included. You can save a ton of money, and these bikes are seemingly always available for some reason. Why are there so many low mileage, fully farkled ADV bikes on Marketplace? Precisely because bike choice matters. So many people watch Long Way Round and decide they need to jump right into a big GS, or let a salesman tell them that you'll get bored with a 300L. You need to spend twice as much on a 450L. It's just as easy to ride and twice as good for my commission. And then 6 months later, those bikes are for sale and those riders never touch a motorcycle again. When I bought my 450L, it was 3 years old with 600 miles. I was the third owner. A better bike will not make you a more capable rider. A 500 EXCF may be the most capable factory dual sport on the planet, but that capability is useless and frankly dangerous without the skill to wield it. Riding is expensive, and the vast majority of ADV riders are middle-aged men, at least according to my channel demographics. These are people with careers and families who depend on them. We cannot afford to get hurt and be out of commission or destroy the bike we just spent thousands of dollars on. With the wrong bike, one that is too powerful or too heavy or just too damn difficult to maneuver in the places you want to go, the consequences for failure are massive. The fear of those consequences often drives new riders to give up before they ever really even learn how to ride. Bike choice matters. The right bike can make difficult riding easier. The wrong bike definitely makes difficult riding harder. I have two dogs. Chewy is a 12-year-old 18-pound pug. Starbuck is a 4-year-old 50-pound pit bull cattle dog mix. When Chewy isn't cooperating, I just pick him up and put him where I want him. When Starbuck wants to get away from me, it takes everything I have to stop her and get her back in control. Now imagine, instead of a 50-pound pit mix, you're trying to wrestle a 600-pound Super Tenere up a crappy trail. It'd be a lot easier with the pug version of that bike, say a WR250R if we're staying in the Yamaha family, in that situation. I'm not saying that skill doesn't matter. In fact, it's probably the most important thing. A good rider can absolutely destroy difficult terrain on the wrong bike, the way I'm sure Picasso could absolutely paint a masterpiece with finger paints. But you and me, we ain't Picasso. The more skill you have, the less bike choice matters. This is true, but choosing the right bike, particularly if you're not an expert rider, and most of us aren't, absolutely factors in way more than it's not the bike, it's the rider would have you believe. However, other side of the coin, many of us take that bike choice question a little too seriously. Yes, there's a huge difference between starting on an 890 Adventure versus a 300L Rally, but the difference between that Rally and a KLX 300 is pretty negligible. What type of bike you choose matters a lot. Which bike in that category you choose matters a whole lot less than motorcycle YouTubers like me would have you believe. Once you've narrowed down your search to which of the 5 types of ADV bike you want, shameless plug for one of my other videos, which I'll link, pretty much everything in that category does the same thing. Just pick the one that you like the most or the one that you can get the best deal on. I get emails all the time from people who can't decide which bike to buy because they're locked into this analysis paralysis trying to choose between bikes that in the grand scheme of things are pretty much exactly the same. Nitpicking between 2 very similar bikes is a waste of your time. So long as you've chosen the right type of bike, the rest matters a lot less. I think a more accurate saying might be it's the bike and the rider. A great rider can be successful on just about anything, but even for them, it's easier with the right tool for the job, while a new rider will absolutely struggle with the wrong bike for them and their skill level. A thoroughbred might be the best horse, but it will absolutely run wild with an inexperienced rider in the saddle. My advice is the same as always. If you want to learn to ride off-road, start with a small dual sport or dirt bike. By the time you start to feel the limitations of that bike, you'll have done enough riding to know what you value in a motorcycle and can make a much more informed choice. And if you started with a good used bike, you'll probably be able to sell it at a very minimal loss. Total win-win in my book. So I guess maybe clickbait title aside, really what I'm trying to say is that it's not the bike, it's the rider is only half right, which, okay, makes sense. But don't get the idea in your head that which bike you choose doesn't matter, because it absolutely does. Whether you're a new rider or an expert rider, having the right tool for the job makes a difference, and choosing the right bike early on in your career will absolutely make or break whether or not you go on to become a successful and happy rider. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to the channel, because I'm the Dork on the road and I want to be your internet riding buddy, and I'm better than your regular riding buddies because I come with a mute button, which I'm guessing some of you used in this video. Thank you for watching, I appreciate you, and please do not forget to be excellent to each other. Happy New Year. Thank you.